Hello, good afternoon and welcome to my model railway layout. Bedstead Junction. There we go, Bedstead Junction. Obviously another day of lockdown, so I'm trying to produce these videos of locomotives to keep myself amused and hopefully keep any watchers amused out there who happens to stumble upon my channel. Now, the two locomotives we're looking at today are both counties designed by Frederick W. Hawksworth. He was the last chief mechanical engineer of the Great Western Railway. He became chief mechanical engineer during 1941, and I think he served through to 1948 when he retired, and that was at the time of when British Rail came into being. The railways were all nationalised, and the Great Western Railway ceased to be. In fact, it became then the western region of British Rail. Now they are two-cylinder locomotives, and they were built late in World War II in 1945. Then after the end of the war, through to about 1947, and a total of 30 were built. And they were built really to get as much power you could from a twin-cylinder locomotive. In fact, it's the last of the dynasty of locomotives, which began with the Saint class, and then would have gone through to the halls in the Granges, and then eventually arriving at this county class. Almost as powerful as a castle. And the one we're looking at first of all is in British Rail Green. It's got a double chimney, and it's been given the name of County of Monmouth, number 1020, County of Monmouth. It's the actual model itself is produced by Hornby, and it was made in around about in the 2000s. In fact, they both were. And in fact, we're going to have a quick look now and just see which one we're looking at. Yeah, this one is R2211. R2211, and it was made in March of 2001. That's why these instruction leaflets are useful. They always have a stamp or a sticker on them showing you the model number and when it was built by Hornby. And then the other locomotive is called County of Brecknock or County of Brecon, and this one's in BR Black, and it's got the early quest, which is the unicycling lion, and that's number 1007. Now, it's my personal opinion, these are super models of locomotives. The models themselves feel quite durable. The only modification I've made to them is to insert a crew, which I don't think we'll get a very good view of, but because of the cabs. But I think what I'll do is maybe in another video perhaps, or maybe in this video if I can do it, just maybe take the tender, remove the tender of one of these so you can have a better view of what's going on inside the cab. And you can see, of course, there's the double chimney on County of Monmouth, single chimney County of Brecknock, and a total of 30 were built, and they were used all over the British Western region after the war. Now, one of the advantages of these locomotives, and I think they must have been built within a certain size and weight restriction, excuse me, that they were able to run all the way through from Paddington and over the Royal Albert Bridge and into Cornwall. Some locomotive classes, especially the Kings, were unable to cross the Royal Albert Bridge because of their weight, and another locomotive had to take over if there was going to be a train going on into Cornwall. Well, these could go right through from Paddington to Cornwall because of their weight. Very powerful, as I say, almost as powerful as a castle. A little bit more powerful perhaps if you just look at the attractive effort figures. They were originally built with quite a high boiler pressure of £280 per square inch, but it was later reduced to £250 per square inch to help out with maintenance costs. Okay, so really, apart from the colour schemes and the chimneys, they are virtually identical to each other. One thing I like about these as well is that there's a little bit of a departure from former hornby practice, and I don't know if we'll get a good view of this. You can probably see there, the coal load is halfway down in the tenders on these. Much more realistic. See the coal there sloping down from the tender towards the loco. And that's because these do not have the ring-filled motor inside the tender. They've got what they call a Type H ring-filled motor, and they're put inside the locomotive along with all the gearing. So it's all in there, the actual workings. Quite good pullers. And you can see there the trains they're going to be pulling today, the ranks of coaches, are my normal formation of Great Western coaches, which you can still buy in the Hornby Railroad range. Some of these coaches are from the 1990s, some are quite recent. I've only just recently bought some of these during the lockdown. Further down the layout in the other station are two more locomotives. They're two class 14 double X's with auto trains. Now these engines were a little bit maligned, I think. I think maybe they had a sort of negative sort of attitude towards them when they first came out, being called counties. The previous counties, I mean, I've heard plenty of people do reviews of models of the previous version of the counties. Now the previous version was made in the early 1900s, designed by Churchward, and they were 440s. But they were very, very rough riding, and they hammered away at the track as well. And so they were not popular with the crews, the 440s. And I think maybe people thought, oh, here we go again when these new counters are being built. But they were quite popular with some enginemen, as of course they were quite powerful. Some people found it hard to keep time. Apparently they were a little bit hard to control on the regulator, in reality. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run one of our locomotives out. We'll have a little look and see. And I think what we'll do is we'll do our County of Brecknock first, County of Brecon. Now, let's just see if we can run. It may need a little helping hand today. The end part of this track isn't all it should be, and oh, there we are, just a little shove and away it goes. This is completely live, so you will see these little things happening. I'm sure other people may like to edit out their imperfections. I have editing software, but I like to actually produce these videos at the moment exactly as they are filmed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change the points. And the only reason that my locomotive needed a helping hand is I think this last little piece of track here needs to be replaced. And I'll go into that in a while perhaps. You see a County of Brecknock, good puller, pulling away now on our main line. A 460 twin cylinder locomotive. Now one of the reasons why I've prefer these locomotives in many ways is that when you remove the body, you've got a perfectly serviceable motor. Some of the more modern Hornby locomotives have got motors on which you cannot replace any of the parts. So in other words, if something were to go wrong with the motor, you have to chuck the whole motor away and fit another one. But with these, even though I've never had to do it, probably just new brushes and springs and a clean up and away you go again. Now I bought these during the lockdown, second hand of course. And this one was released later than County of Monmouth. I said before, I think it was released in August of 2006. This one, it says on the actual leaflet that went with it. It's in light BR lined black, which I think is a very, very attractive livery. A lot of the Great Western locomotives were not painted in green immediately after the war, or immediately after nationalisation. In fact, some of the express locomotives were even painted in experimental blue. Now, I do believe that a lot of the features that were built into these locomotives were being tried with an aim to putting them into future locomotives, with future designs. But obviously, nationalisation and the end of the Great Western Railway curtailed that. And in fact, in the from the 1950 onwards, then a lot of what they call standard class locomotives were built, which were going to replace any of these other locomotives. I think another one of the reasons why the county class were built was that the Saint class of locomotives, which were also twin cylinders, were beginning to show their age. The Saint classes were built in the early 1900s under George Dutch and Churchward, and in fact they were actually withdrawn in around about 1953. And I think these locomotives were designed to replace them. And we'll see some of the design differences as well between this and other Great Western locomotives in a moment. Now let's just bring her up to the line there. Just stop her on the main line and we'll take a look. Right, okay, now then. Differences. If you're in a castle class, or a king, or a hall, or a grange, you will notice a difference with this one. It's got straight nameplates. It's got a continuous splasher, straight splasher going down the length of the locomotive, whereas on something like a castle, you would have three sort of arches where the wheels go, and then the middle wheel cover would contain the nameplate, which would be curved, but these had straight nameplates. It's a bit of a departure. Also, the tenders were Hawksworth. You can tell a Hawksworth tender because it's got flat sides. There, it's got no curves. If you look at the Collet tenders and the Churchward tenders, they look different to these. You can see the name there, County of Brecknock or Brecon. So these were named off. This was named after obviously a Welsh county, numbered 1007, and you can clearly see the single chimney there. But that was the main difference between these and earlier Great Western designs. And you can clearly see the lining on the locomotive there, the red lining. So I think looks very, very attractive. We'll try and take a closer look at the tender. There you can see the coal does not fill up the tender as you do on some of the old Ringfield powered locomotives. In fact, what the older Ringfield motor tender driven locomotives had to do, they had to have a rather large looking coal load to accommodate the motor. But obviously, because the motor is inside the locomotive on these, you don't need they didn't need to do that. I think as well this one got some nice features too. I think it's got, if I remember right, it's got spring buffer, so we'll give them a quick press and we'll just see. Yep, we've got spring buffers, which some people like to have on anything that they require to be a premium model. At the moment the front coupling's not fitted, and I think a lot of people will leave the front couplings off of a lot of their models, because you're only going to be pulling the train round this way. It's unlikely you'll be pulling it tender first, even though on some reserve lines that does happen. Okay, so we're into that now. Counter Brecknock, or Brecon. I've been to Brecon, and it's a home of the Borders Regiment, a Welsh regiment, which are quite famous. That's where their museum is. Now, let's take a look. We'll just bring this one into the station. There we go. And we'll just see if we can go into the station. Now you can see, just on that last little piece of track, it was hesitant there. Now this is one of the reasons why I say these shorter coaches are an advantage, because on my layout here, obviously, if the train was too long, then the two trains would collide with each other. Now we just changed the point in favour of County of Monmouth. We'll have a closer look at County of Monmouth while we're here, as it's closer to us. Now, okay, you can see the nameplate. This time green. And the Lake Crest. 460. So 4 leading wheels, 6 driving wheels, no trailing wheels under the cab. And let's just see if we can bring her out. Oh, there we go. And let's move without the helping hand, which it should. I will be replacing some of this track, like I was saying, cleaning it up, maybe changing the things. The problem with this end rail here is that it came from a set, a kind of a train sort of track pack, and this one for some reason was insulated. It's got a cut in the in one of the rails, and what I've done is I've just squashed the two together, so it allows the train to run over it, but the train does stick there sometimes. But our County of Monmouth. This is something I derive great pleasure from. Enjoy watching my locomotives running round. And again, these locomotives ran straight out of the box when I bought them. Had them delivered by from eBay. Put them on the track, and they ran straight from the box. They perhaps some of them may have needed a little bit of a clean up, may have needed a quick service, quick oiling. Some of them hadn't been used for some time. As you can see, running quite well. Now, for now and for the foreseeable future, I'll be sticking with the DC system of powering the locomotives. There's another more sophisticated one called DCC, Digital Command Control, where you can have individual control over the locomotives, but in order to do that you need a very much more expensive controller. You need to be able to remember what number all the locomotives were. Some people use the last 4 digits of their locomotive number for that, but for a layout this size, 6 feet by 4, I've decided to stick with the conventional, traditional train way of controlling and powering the trains. Now there used to be a train shop in Bristol, sadly been gone for quite a long time. The gentleman that ran it would have retired, and that's where I got most of my advice when I was buying a lot of my stuff in the early 1990s. Everything, what you see, the 2 big locomotives on here were bought during the lockdown, which is obviously a lot later than that, but I got a lot of the buying advice from there. Now, this is where I bought my controller on their advice. The Gauge Master. This one's called the Gauge Master Series D. You can still buy them. The outer casing looks different, but they're basically the same thing really. And you get very, very good control for your locomotives. And the controllers are built like a tank really. Designed for twin track. But at the moment I'm just running with a single track with sidings. Now we'll come back to watch our County of Monmouth. There we are, look at that, superb. We'll take a quick look, let's see if we can get a good look down inside the cab. Well, there we go, you can just about see them there. Yep, I fitted loco crew to these. You just about see them in there, but that's a driver and a fireman. You can see the fireman shoveling away there. And the shadow of the cab means that you probably won't see the driver very clearly. We'll see if we can remedy that situation in just a moment. Just a moment, we're just going to take a little walk up in this direction. Don't we often come this way while I'm filming. Ah, there we go. Looking for it. Now, obviously, in the moment, my lighting is quite restricted. It's a normal lighting you find in a room. So it's just a little light bulb up there. And it's this lamp just here. I'll turn it around, but it's this lamp just here. There we are. Okay. And that's all there is lighting us at the moment. We'll just have a little shine inside. Oh, there we are. So we can see driver and the fireman a little bit more clearly now. There we go, just shining a torch inside. Now, a little tip for you. I'm not going to get on my high horse about this, but it has prevented me from buying 1 or 2 locomotives I've seen on eBay. And that's it. If you're going to add loco crew, please put the driver on the correct side. On a Great Western locomotive, the driver goes on the right hand side, so on this side, and you can tell that really quite easily. And I'll bring the train round so you can see from another angle what I mean. Around she comes. I don't know if you can see it there, but you've got the reversing rod coming down from the cab, and the reversing rod is on the same side as where you would put the driver. Some locomotives are the other way round. The driver goes on the left hand side, and I think you'll find that's possibly with LMS or LNER locomotives, but don't always think that is the absolute truth. And again, if we can shine the light there, please excuse my lighting. Maybe you can see the reversing rod. Now you can see the reversing rod coming down from the cab there. So that's the side where the driver needs to go. I've seen a few models on eBay of Great Western locomotives where they've glued the driver in on the left hand side and I've not bought them because of that reason. I suppose I could always remove the crew and swap them round. Then you know, that might mean a whole new world of fiddliness. Now I think there is a model of the county class like this in the Hornby Railroad range. I don't know if it's in their current range, but you can get them in the railroad range. And I think one of these has been reviewed by Sam's Trains, which you may want to look up as a website, as a YouTube channel, Sam's Trains. But his is a more modern version, his is from the Hornby Railroad range. Whereas I think at the time these were designed to be the more of a premium model than a railroad range. It's and the motors are different in the new ones. Everything's different about them. I think, in my opinion, Hornby went through a good period in the 2000s, where their models were well built and nothing falls off. And I can say this quite categorically: nothing has ever fallen off any of these locomotives from this period. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed seeing my county class locomotives running around the track. I'm going to carry on enjoying watching them now and having a little play for a little while longer, but I will wrap things up for you. And I hope that this has given you some relief from the lockdown which we're experiencing. Hopefully the vaccine will be rolled out to everyone shortly. And keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves in, keep yourselves safe, and hopefully we'll all be able to get out and enjoy the railways in reality on preserved railways once this lockdown's over. You can see some of the real trains as well. You know, I do really enjoy my model trains, and if you enjoy it just as much as I do, then fine, you're having a really good time. Okay, so thank you very much, and thanks for watching, and I should bid you farewell, and thank you very much. Oh, and if you like what you see, and if you want to see more videos, then subscribe, and I'll hopefully get some more videos made for you. Okay, so that's lovely, and thank you very much. Bye bye.